Luke chapter 7, verses 24 through 26. When the messengers of John had departed, he began to speak to the multitudes concerning John. What did you go out in the wilderness to see? A reed shaken by the wind? But what did you go out to see? A man clothed in soft garments? Indeed, those who are gorgeously apparelled and live in luxury are in king's courts. But what did you go out to see? A prophet? And yes, I say to you, more than a prophet. The key thing that just stood out during this whole thing, and we referenced it here recently, is Jesus is asking the people, what did you go out to see? He's going to tell you who John is. He's going to get down to the nitty gritty, but there's this thing in what you're seeking of what are you seeking? What are you looking for? And then I know, Bones, there's things that the wilderness brought out of us, and what the Lord really exposed is what we thought we were looking for, at least what we were taught to say that we were looking for. It really wasn't what we were looking for. And to be quite honest, he had to get us to where what we said we were looking for. He had to get that not only in proper alignment, but he had to get our hearts and our tongues united, because we said we were looking for this, but man, our motives we had to have some things happen that exposed that our motives were a little bit selfish, a little bit self-centered, a little bit ego-driven. Right before recording this, confirmation after confirmation, this theme of value has just been coming across my plate the last 2-3 weeks. If you have a customer, what value are you giving to the customer? If you have somebody that joins your organization, let's say you're helping out, oh, it'd be a good idea to get a thing together and help out with fireworks, shoot across. Okay, well, what value does that add? And one of the things that really factors into that for me is, Paul said over in 1 Corinthians, over in 12:28, he's talking about all these gifts of the Spirit, but then he's saying it's the same Spirit. When we get into all these giftings, God has appointed these in the church. First apostles, second prophets, third teachers, after that miracles, then gifts of healings, helps, administrations, administrators, varieties of tongues. Paul's saying you're looking for a value, but then you also have value. So there has to be, in your walk with the Lord, you're looking for something, but you also got to be willing to be of value yourself. Jesus talked about being salt and light. If the salt loses saltiness, it's good for nothing. Let your light so shine before men, they can see your good works and glorify your Father in heaven. One other thing is First Chronicles, like the way it said here, 21:24. King David said to Ornan, this is right after he makes a major boo-boo. This leads to the building of the temple eventually. He sees the angel of the Lord basically getting ready to kill the rest of the city, and he offers up a sacrifice. He offers to buy this floor from Ornan. Over in 2 Samuel, it's said Aruna, same guy. One is in shorthand, I'm sure. Ornan says, man, you're the king. Take it. He said, no, but I will surely buy it for the full price, for I will not take what is yours for the Lord, nor burnt offerings with that which costs me nothing. Here's the deal. We're on here. We're podcasting. Big question we should probably be asking is, what kind of value are we giving? Because we're not requiring anything of you. Just tune in and listen. I know this, that the things that we thought of value for us in the church really didn't amount to a hill of beans. Paul talked about all his qualifications and all the things that he held near and dear. He said, I learned to count them as dung. There's a Villa Ridge way of saying that. We won't repeat it here. But what's the value? What are you looking for? as a believer. And guess what? You might be geared toward to look for different things. You know, we know in part, we prophesy in part. So what you're looking for might be different. Doesn't mean it's necessarily wrong. Although with some of the stuff that we were looking for, it was. But that's really for you and the Lord to figure out, and for the Holy Spirit to show you. But what do you value? What are you looking in a relationship? What do you expect to find? And I think the answer with both of us was, with Jesus, he said, you think you were going out to see all this and trying to find John the Baptist? You thought you were seeing this, you thought you were seeing that. He said, oh, it's a lot more than that. And that's the one thing about it. When you actually start to walk with the Lord, you find out that there's a lot more to it than what you initially thought.
Paul Hillman told me one time, I'd asked him about a car that I wanted to buy. Told him what I was looking at and what they wanted for it, and told him if he thought that was a good deal. He said, well, value and worth is often dependent upon the buyer and the seller.
Hmm.
And I have heard that in my mind's ear so many times since he said that decades ago. Value and worth is dependent upon the buyer and the seller. The value that you place on something may not be the same value that someone else places on something.
Yep.
So as you were reading that passage there, and I kept, I was listening to that, what did you come out here to see? I wonder if very many of those folks even knew what they were coming out to see.
Yeah.
Because we're like that sometimes. How many times do we open our Bibles to read it and we really don't know what we're looking for? We just know that we need to be reading,
Mm-hmm.
or that we have an unction to read.
Yes.
And then once we get into it, we kind of discover what we're looking for, or what we're there for.
Yeah, that reminds me of Moses, just minding his business.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's this burning bush. I will turn aside to see this sight. Well, you're getting a little bit more than you bargained for, buddy.
Right.
You're stepping into your calling. And there's times I read the Bible just to read it.
Yep.
Ain't going to hurt you none. And then there's times that the Lord say, hey, turn here.
Right.
Turn here. There's more. Keep digging, keep digging, keep digging. I've had the Lord speak to me and had things pop out just in my daily reading, but usually there's a little bit more urgency when he says, turn to this book.
Right. Right. Value and worth. I mean, we put out the podcast, we talk on here, and a lot of times we're just kicking the bobos and things of that sort. But we can't even believe, or we can't even begin to ascribe worth, because there's folks out there that I would venture, would ascribe little worth to what they're hearing. There's folks that would ascribe a lot of worth to what they're hearing.
Yep.
So once again, value and worth dependent upon the buyer and the seller. Another thing that I took from that is it takes two parties there at least.
Yeah.
There's a giver and a taker, so to speak. So you got to have that.
Whether you know it or not, in this relationship with the one living and true God, creator of all things, who values you enough to give his only begotten son as a sacrifice, as an atonement, as a propitiation for all you old King Jamers out there. And then he values you enough to give you his spirit. So he values you at the same time. We're looking for something. And I know that sounds awful selfish to say, but if you're seeking, you're searching, you're looking for something.
Mm-hmm.
You might not have, and you probably don't have the full idea of what you're embarking on in this quest have this relationship with God. You're going to find out that not only is his value way more than what you thought, you're probably going to find out that your value is way more than you thought. But to get you to where your use, there's going to have to be a little bit of a purification. There has to be some of this old man done away with. Doesn't really change who you are. The Lord starts working on you. It don't mean you're going to go from a heavy metal to Southern gospel in what you like to listen to, especially if you're in the
Right.
weight room. You just ain't you ain't going to deadlift to the Statler brothers. It ain't happening. I did like me some Statler brothers back in the day, but you're going to find out that to be of more value and of more use, that there's going to have to be some purifying. You're going to have to deal with some of the things that are hindering you, which a lot of times what is hindering you is you.
You. Yeah. Here's Jesus asking this question numerous times. And it reminds me of the GPS.
Huh?
Yeah, when you're driving and you get off course a little bit and it says recalculating, recalculating, recalculating. The whole time it's trying to get your attention, trying to tell you that, hey, you're in the wrong spot. You need to be over here.
Hmm?
That's kind of what Jesus is doing right here.
Yeah,
What did you come out to see? He's I would say he's probably doing a little bit of mind reading. He knows their thoughts, and he's going, what did you come out to see?
proceed to the root.
Proceed to the root. There you go. That always gets me going. But proceed to. I'm trying to proceed to the root. I don't know which way the root is.